Have you ever noticed about this time of year, the very end of the year, how so many year in review programs and articles appear? It's as if we needed reminding of what we've just collectively experienced or something. In a way, it's good to look back and assess what we've been through. But spending too much time looking back isn't always a good thing, is it? You know, doom and gloom, sickness and hardship. Ooh, those are just not good things to remember, are they? I'm way too much of an optimist to wallow back there too long. The future always looks like more fun to me. My name is Ian Currey and this is Thinking Out Loud. Come on, let me tell you what I think. Can you remember where you were and what you were doing at this time last year? How about 5 or 10 years ago? Did you ever imagine you'd be where you are today and have done all the things you've done? Where did you think you'd be? It's always fun trying to remember what our hopes and dreams were, isn't it? But sometimes we look back and remember all the things we intended to do and didn't. Those can be hard thoughts too, can't they? If you knew then what you know now, how would you have decided to do things differently? These look-back questions are great questions, but in a way, they're not very helpful. You can't go back and change the past now, can you? But you can change the future. Of course, it's a good thing to review how you made decisions and what the outcome of your actions were. But unless you apply those principles to the future, a few years from now, you will be wondering how you got where you are all over again. Sometimes the problem isn't that we don't know what to do, we just don't have the stickability to stay with what we know is the right thing to do. Now, Jesus spoke about looking back, but he's often misquoted and even more often misunderstood. On one occasion, a conversation with some of his potential disciples is recorded by Luke, and when some of them started making excuses about not sticking with the plan, Jesus says, "Anyone who puts a hand to the plow and then looks back is not fit for the kingdom of God." I've often heard these words thrown around to discourage me from looking at the past and how things worked or didn't work, and have people tell me, "Come on, let's just get on with it. We've always done it that way." But this isn't Jesus saying, don't learn from the past. No, not at all. Neither is Jesus saying, don't review how you got where you are and learn from those experiences. Of course not. This is much more to do with commitment and sticking with something you say you're going to do. You know, not letting others down, that sort of thing. A good example of God getting people to stop looking at the poor circumstances right where they are right now is found in something the ancient prophet Isaiah said. I won't read it all to you, it's rather long, but the prophet starts by reminding people of the things God has done to take care of them. He reminds them of a way through the Red Sea, defeating a huge, powerful army, and preserving their lives, and all because they were following him. But then he goes on to say something I find fun, and it's just as relevant today as it was all those years ago. But forget all that. It is nothing compared to what I am going to do. I love that forget all that part, especially as he's just reminded them of it all. But he then goes on to point out the future, as if to say, you saw God do wonderful things before and can trust him in the future because of that. For I am about to do something new. See, I've already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness. I will create rivers in the dry wasteland. It's as if the first part, before the wonderful forget all that part, is there to remind us that God has this, no matter what this turns out to be. Spending too much time looking back can really be dangerous, can't it? I remember as a boy I travelled daily to school on a train. There were several different kinds of train on that line, and one in particular was known as the Sardine Special. We called it that because it was not possible to move from one compartment to the next, and we were packed in like sardines. It was short and usually only had 2 carriages, and really there wasn't room for all of us as schoolboys. At one end of the train, though, there was a luggage van with a periscope that looked along the roof. Now, I have no idea what that was used for. It would be a bit strange to me, but nonetheless, there was a periscope. It was always fun to peer in and get a glimpse of where we'd been or where we were going, depending on which way round the train was. When the train got really full, the guard would let a few of us ride in that luggage van, and that was something every train-loving boy wanted to do. Now, I knew which end of the train the luggage compartment would be, because on that end there was a black triangle, and it was painted on the end of the train. Do you see it there, pointing down? That would mean the luggage compartment was at that end of the train. On one occasion I saw the train coming into the station and realised it was a Sardine Special, but I didn't yet know which way round it was pointing. As soon as I saw that triangle, I started running along the platform to be at the right end of the train, so I could ride in the guard's van. But I still needed to know if it were 2 or 4 carriages long. So as I ran, I looked back over my shoulder, and I wanted to see that. Now that, looking back, was a very, very bad idea. Running along a railway platform looking over your shoulder means you can't see where you're going. And I ran straight into a lamppost. Now that egg on my head was really a big lump, and I had a headache for quite some time afterwards. But of course there are 2 other places to look rather than back over our shoulder. One is the here and now, looking and enjoying where we are. I've always been curious about what is going on around me, and I love to work out what things are and how they work. Now this year I either made Christmas gifts or bought several others in places that gifts aren't usually found. I brought my sister something unusual and just knew she wouldn't guess what it was and would love it when it was unwrapped. Before I gave it to her, I took some pictures of it. Would you like to see? Do you know what it is? It's a weird looking thing, isn't it? Well, it's called a kaleidoscope. In the long triangular part there in the middle are mirrors, and at each end a small hole. At one end, these wheels of coloured glass cover that hole, and if you look in the other end, through the opening, you get to see some wonderful patterns. Fun, right? Now, if my sister sees this video, she'll know I played with her gift before she got it. But I'm sure she won't mind. It's quite old and I was very careful with it. If I hadn't taken the time to look around me right now and enjoy the situation I was in, my sister may never have received that fun gift, and I wouldn't have been able to share it with you too. We've looked at the past, and we've thought about taking time to take in the present. But what about the future? The future depends so very much on how we see things, doesn't it? Looking at the doom and gloom and focusing on that will put us in a very dark place very quickly. That can be so easy to do when there's so much bad news and so on going around. Remembering what God had to say, though, through his prophet Isaiah, is sort of an encouragement to look at things with a positive outlook. Look, you've seen what I've already done in the past. You've had fun in the middle of dark days. You've had enough to eat when others were hungry, and you may have enjoyed life to the full, perhaps. It brings us right back to the forget all that part, doesn't it? It is nothing compared to what I am going to do, for I am about to do something new. See, I have already begun. Do you not see it? I'll make a pathway through the wilderness. I'll create rivers in the dry wasteland. In comparison to what we've seen already, the excitement of the future is indeed an adventure, isn't it? The ongoing joy of seeing life, seeing others thrive, watching family and friends overcome challenges and difficulties, while helping where we can along the way. That can be so rewarding, can't it? What are you planning on doing this year to enable those future things to be a reality? Who are you planning on helping through difficult times? Who are you going to explore life with and introduce to something new and exciting? Remember, if I'd never gone into a junk shop looking for something to give my sister, you may never have seen that old kaleidoscope. Go on, give it a try. Look around and look forward before you spend too much time looking back. Life is too much fun to look back for too long. Until next time, goodbye.